Good afternoon and welcome to the Southwest Hearts Link for Growth news. No, it's not news, it's community TV show. Hi Alex, how you doing?
Good, Chris, how are you?
You're not bad. Start how you mean to go on, make a mess of it right at the beginning. Right, we've got a interesting show today, haven't we? We've got, I'm hoping we've done ourselves real proud and we've got 3 guests on the show.
That'd be good, sounds good.
Yeah, so the format's going to be a little bit different today because we're going to charge straight in and get Tracy Berg from the Watford Women's Centre on. But later on, we've got Lester Wagman joining us. And if you know Lester, he was the chap that was campaigning for the saviour of the
Watford
Metropolitan line, which runs into the Canterbury estate. So he's going to be telling us a little bit about what went on there and where the state of play is with that particular situation. And then with a bit of luck, I am tweeting with Sarah at the moment. She's stuck right in the middle of the battle to save Farm Terrace, which, if you as you remember, is that bit of land which has been earmarked for the health campus. And you found out a little bit this week that that's almost is in the High Court, is it, or where is it?
Going to the Royal Court of Justice.
Royal Court of Justice.
We'll find out later on.
We'll find out later on. Very, very well said. Right. Well, I'm just going to see now if we can drag in Tracy. So we'll talk amongst ourselves while I do this, and we'll see if we can get Tracy in. Right. Here we go. I'm going to send this email over. And let's see what happens.
And we wait.
So, yeah, well, while we're waiting for Tracy and I met for the first time on a hangout yesterday, funny enough. Right. We'll see if she recognises me with my my new haircut. But she was all good to go yesterday, so we'll see. I've got her telephone number, so I'm just going to remind her that I've called her in. Let's just do that. Okay, so I've dropped Tracy a text.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Watford Women's Centre are doing some pretty interesting things at the moment. They're putting the images of their products that they're selling in the shop onto the L4G Watford community on Google Plus, and that's yeah, it's quite interesting. I might nip down there and have a little look around.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. I don't appear to have had a response to this as yet. But let me try. I'll put myself on mute.
Mm-hmm. I will speak while I've just found Dorothy Thornhill's manifesto for mayor elections. I may have a read to the people about that, pick out some highlights. And I believe Chris is on mute, so I'll be the only one who's speaking. Chris, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Oh, good. So you can hear me, but you're on mute. That's fine. Yeah. So Dorothy Thorne, who is obviously rerunning for mayor of Watford, there's a few things. In kind of summary, she said her key points are healthy local economy, more green spaces, a quality local environment, high standard of local services, a family-friendly town centre, and a value for money council. So they're her kind of headline points, and I'm just going to see what you find. Let me just I'll read this out loud, and Chris, come back to me when you're ready. She talk about kind of working in partnership, make sure the town gets a fair deal from everyone. She talks about the health campus, which is obviously we're going to come back to later. Apparently she's kept all her 2012 manifesto promises, so she's kept council tax rises below the rate of inflation. And we've seen an improvement at parks and open spaces. There's more. We'll see if we can find something else.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, Tracy. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. This is Alex.
Hello,
Hi.
Alex. Hi.
So, we've had lunch today with Diane, and so that was quite good fun. And she's aware that you're on this afternoon, and she's quite looking forward to seeing how it goes. You're only one of, I think, how many is it? Is this the third guest we've had on the show?
Yeah, this is the third.
So third time lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really getting the tech down now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, Tracy, tell us, or tell me, because I do know quite a bit about the Watford Women's Centre, but tell the viewers a little bit about what the Watford Women's Centre is up to, because you do quite a lot of things down there, don't you?
Yeah, we do. We've got a huge range of services, and I think sometimes we surprise people with both the amount that we provide and the people we provide to, because it's a bit of a shock to them sometimes. We work with men. That surprises them. We run a range of services from a core all the way out to activities that might be more about people's personal growth. So we look at trying to help people who might perhaps be having crisis, mental health issues, perhaps experiencing domestic abuse. And what we want to do is to be able to provide stepping stones so that people can either step further into the service or step further out. So we also provide a range of courses, IT and English, personal development. We have job clubs, we run creche, we have lots of leisure and arts and crafts types activities, yoga. So we really want people to feel that they can come in for anything that they need, and we'll be able to provide a service for them.
So how did the Watford Women's Centre start?
Well, we began in November '89 in a porter cabin that was provided by Watford Borough Council. So really Watford Borough Council grew us from a very small grassroots place by providing a telephone once a week for a domestic abuse phone line, and then a member of staff, and eventually we grew and grew and grew, and we were actually a Watford Borough Council organisation up until the end of 2008, when we began to gradually reduce our dependence on the council and become more independent.
And you've got a couple of facilities, I've been told, and one a person such as myself would not be allowed to go to, and then you've got the place where I'm quite welcome, which is in the Market Street with the shop there, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Well, a person such as yourself would be welcome at our women-only venue outside opening hours. but yes, we also have a Market Street site where men and women come in for job clubs, volunteering opportunities, and IT and English classes. Yeah.
And you've got quite a wide variety of things in the shop. I noticed that Diane's been putting up some quite interesting products. Like there's things like Chinese vases, and there was a chicken that I had my eye on actually, because there's somebody who linked for growth who's known as the Chicken Man, and I was sorely tempted.
Well, we'd have been extremely pleased to sell you the chicken.
Are we talking kind of roast stuffed in ornamental form? I'm not sure now. If it's a roast chicken, I might come along.
You'd have had a hard time eating it, Alex. It was a metal chicken.
Okay.
I'd have liked to have seen that.
You also run job clubs as well, don't you, for people who perhaps need help with CVs and stuff like that. They run in a number of locations, though.
Yeah, we run a job club here. We run a job club at the Wellspring Community Church at the Lower High Street, and we also go into CTEC, which is provides the back to work program. So we go into CTEC twice a week as well. But we're having such fabulous success with our employability work. We did a recent survey across our courses, and 41% of people who learn with us 6 months later have gone into some form of employment, be that volunteering, full-time and part-time work. So that was 6% of people who've studied with us go into full-time employment. And everybody who studies with us receives careers advice and a one-to-one which provides signposting to some of our other services, but also signposting out to other services that might be useful locally.
That's fantastic. But how did you get involved in? Were you there right from the start?
No, I joined in January 2009. So I came on board at that transition period where my predecessor was employed by Watford Borough Council and I was employed by the Women's Centre. So I straddled that change.
I mean, I heard from Diane, and I'm sure it is true, that you don't just help out in Watford. You've got a remit for Watford, but actually you help out in quite a wide. You go out quite a long way. St Albans, Hemel.
Yeah, when I'm asked what our geographic boundary is, I say planet Earth, because we have had clients who've maybe moved abroad and still contact us for support and advice. And in fact, a couple of years ago we were doing some work online with a woman who lived in Australia. So literally planet Earth. If we've had clients who have received service from us and built a relationship, we're happy to continue that work on.
That's amazing. And you've also got a tie-up with there's a Watford Women's Centre in Stevenage, I understand.
There's a Hartsall Women's Centre in Stevenage, and we work very closely in partnership with them. So we had a MOJ, a Ministry of Justice bid a few years ago. We delivered work to women offenders, and at the moment we're both delivering a project for the big lottery.
That's fantastic. I mean, I'm not sort of close to situations with domestic violence per se, but I mean it comes in various forms. I understand from psychological type of abuse as well as actual physical abuse. But I mean it's still quite a big problem, is it?
It's unfortunately it's a growing problem, and I think the current economic climate has certainly contributed to that. If the Home Office released figures for police emergency call-outs in 2010, and 6.6% of call-outs in 2010 were for domestic abuse. So 6.6% of 999 calls. Unfortunately, last year the figure had risen to 10% of emergency call-outs were going to properties where domestic abuse was a feature. And I think it's a reality of how relationships between partners can break down in times of economic strife. There's nothing quite like a redundancy to perhaps further fracture something or further cause difficulty for people.
I know from I work at Systems Advice, do 2 days a week on Gateway, and I know one of the things when we think about kind of a redundancy, whether it's a debt issue, how that may affect housing, and then relationships, when you become redundant, you have the anxiety of money, and then that can affect the relationship. And we do kind of try and look for signs of, okay, it could have been other issues as well.
So we're partnering up with you at the moment then, if you're at Watford CAB.
Yeah, you do some really good work. Kind of, I don't know if you know, Chris, what they do is we've trained some of the Women's Centre staff to do my role, I believe, and it's going really well from what I've heard when speaking to people.
And I think the other thing that we really love about that type of work is that it extends our knowledge of each other, so that if you do have a a gateway that you do and you're not quite sure, then you know you can ring us, you can have a chat with us, we'll talk it through with you. You can send the client across, and I think that type of partnership working, I've loved that project. I think what Karen's done over there has been amazing, because not only has it increased our effectiveness in the Women's Centre in terms of how we assess women when they come in, but it has further strengthened those links, and I think it's been a great piece of work.
Yeah, they've done really good things, isn't it? It's been really good, and I think we're looking to expand it to other local people as well. So it's the New Hope Trust as well, so there's big scope for the future.
Fantastic. I mean, our time has come, it's passed so quickly, but I know we've tried to get you on this show 3 times, I think it is, in the past, and we've managed to do it at long last, and it's been quite fascinating, to be honest, because I know you do such good work in the area, and I know that, you know, I'm really behind trying to make sure that everybody that needs your service knows exactly where they need to go to get it. And you know, you've got the website. What's the website address?
www.watfordwomencentre.org.uk. Although, hot off the press, Diane, as you might know, has wait till you see it, Chris. She's been working like an absolute Trojan on our new website, which it's absolutely a thing of beauty. It's very fresh, it's very clean, and that's going to be going live in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So we're delighted with that. So the website address will change very shortly.
Will she not just put the new one where the old one was? And I mean,
it will bounce forward. Yeah,
right.
It will. We'll keep it open for a while so it bounces across to us. But Diane is the tech lady, and yeah, she really knows what she's doing.
Okay, well, we'll call it time. But thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Chris.
It's been a delight having you on.
No problem. Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, and we'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that was fantastic. They do some really, really good work in the local area, the Watford Women's Centre. So, you know, if you know anybody that needs some support and help, then, you know, please do forward their details on to those people, because, you know, they've done miracles down there.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to get our good man Lester on now. I'm going to send him the link right this minute, and I'll just mute myself, or actually I'll probably just text him. Let's just text him. He might just bounce on, because I know he's keen to tell us what he's been up to.
Definitely. Yeah. When we get a minute, I'll go through a bit of the kind of going back to the mayoral elections, some kind of the Lib Dem priorities, and see if we can discuss that for a little segment.
Okay.
Again, talking with a few things there which kind of spring to kind of mind, looking to kind of protect green spaces through the planning system and protect the characteristic of neighbourhoods, and oppose insensitive development. There's a few things there you can go, where are you really?
So I've sent Lester the link. Now, Lester is an interesting character, isn't he? Whenever I've met Lester, he's campaigning against something or other, and you know, I think he's when I first met him, he was talking about the Watford Metropolitan line and the station at over at in Castlewood Park, and basically saying that, you know, the justification. Oh, actually, hang on a sec. Let me just.
I think I'll take a minute here. I'll step in for a minute and just say, if you kind of want to jump in to next week's show or show after and discuss what your business, charity, social club is doing, send me or Chris an email. We're both on Google+. We're everywhere, you can imagine. So send one of us a message and say, we're interested in coming on, and we'll look to fit you in the coming weeks, and you can talk about what you're passionate about, whether it's your business, your charity, your social club, and get involved, because the more people that get involved, the more people will start watching it, and the more people will start to hear your voice.
Yeah, now Lester has been invited. He's got the link now, so I'm just waiting for him to come on in. Now he may actually have to install the plugin because he's never used one of these before. So now what I'm going to do is I'm also going to try and get hold of Sarah on the phone. So we'll get the conversation going. I'll let you drag all the juice out of the list.
I'll look at them. So, what's your opinion on kind of the mayor elections? Are you going to vote? You're not going to vote? Coming up this month. Where do you stand?
Are they this month?
I believe they're this month.
Really? I'm not that clear. Do you know what date they are?
I'll have a look. Hold on. Let me consult the old internet. May 22nd.
May the 22nd. I mean, I haven't. I mean, are they actually doing some kind of like session where you can see all 3 or 4 or however many there are in action?
I'm having a look now. Let's have a look. Not particularly sure, really. Have a quick look at that. No, nothing there. Give me a minute. I mean, I imagine it might be in the old local paper, but I'll have a look and see if I can find something next week.
Yeah, I mean, am I going to vote in the local mayoral elections? I don't know yet. I'll have to look and see where I am on the day. To be honest, you know, my view, it doesn't really matter who's in, to be honest.
No, but I'm just curious if you had a view on any of the candidates.
I mean, you know, I'm not aware of the other candidates, to be honest. I haven't heard too much. I mean, I know Dorothy's the incumbent, and to be honest, everyone knows who she is. It's going to be a tough uphill battle for anybody else to knock her off the pedestal, I think.
I've seen a few. I know the Labour candidate is a councillor in Vicarage.
Okay. And we've got Lester joining.
Can you hear us?
We half have Lester.
Hello.
Hello, Lester. How are you? You're on mute, I think. Lester, try and unmute yourself. There's probably a microphone thing somewhere where you can click it and unmute yourself. You appear to be muted.
I believe it's at the top of the screen. If you put the mouse on, a little icon should come up.
It looks like your sound isn't working. Try your settings. I wouldn't want to dare try and conduct this interview with a chat box, I have to be honest. So, would you be voting at all, Alex, do you think?
I can't, because I don't live in Watford, do I? So I don't have a say in
Oh, yeah, you're a Hertsmere, aren't you?
I'm Hertsmere. We don't have a mayor because we're sensible like that. But no, I mean, I think we've got local elections possibly this year, maybe I think the next year. I'm not sure, to be honest. But if I lived in Watford, it's a weird decision because I know there's the Lib Dems as incumbents. I know the Labour candidate is a current councillor and was part of the Labour town council when he was last in. And the only other name I've seen bandied around is Phil Cox, who is the UKIP candidate and has some interesting views. but obviously I haven't been to any anything like that, so I'm not too sure.
Right. I mean, I didn't vote in the last one, but you know, to be honest, I don't think I've ever voted in the mayoral elections. But Leicester's clearly having an issue with his microphone there. I muted you there. Just unmuting you just to see if that makes any difference, but doesn't appear to have done.
Apparently, it's working with Skype. Leicester saying.
Oh, have you got Skype running, Leicester? Because if you have, you'll have to get rid of Skype.
I think that might be it.
And you might have to rejoin us. I have muted you now anyway, Leicester, on just in an attempt to re-enable you, but you'll have to probably leave us to come back, close down Skype and come back. What I will do, Alex, let's have a let's just have a very quick look at some of the news items this week while I try and get Sarah to join us.
Okay. Do you want me to lead, or you?
Yeah,
you
lead that while I just try and speak with Sarah and just get her to come on board, because that's going to be quite an interesting one as well.
Leicester, can you hear us? Can we hear you? I don't know why I've asked, can we hear you, because I would know that. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I think he's got conflict with his microphone.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'll try and carry the news, and if Leicester joins us. Hello?
Oh, hang on.
Hello?
Yeah, hi,
Hello.
Leicester.
Yes. Ah, great. Okay. Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for welcoming me on your show.
You're very welcome. We did give you a little bit of a big up earlier, Leicester, as being the campaigning hero for Watford. And when we first met, and I always wanted to have you on the show, because when we first met, you were telling me about the whole Watford Met station debacle. Yeah. And I just wanted people to be able to hear your view of it, because the one that we've been given is that it's uneconomic to keep going, that it's not far for people to walk to go to the Croxley one. The increase in traffic is going to be, footfall is going to be massive for the town, and it's going to bring loads of people to Watford and all that. And I know that you don't share their view, but it's not like you've just suddenly conjured this up. You've actually done a bit of homework, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And sort of make sure if my sound is now coming over, you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, Leicester.
Great, okay. No, absolutely right. There has been this proposal for many, many years to reroute the Met line via the proposed Croxley rail link at a very significant expense, 120 million quid's worth is what it's going to cost, and that's if it's within budget. To send it round through the south of the town and to join up with the overground line into Watford Junction. However, I don't have a problem with that, but what I do have a problem with is losing Watford Met Station, which actually serves a very significant number of people who use that station, not least of which about 500 boys go to Watford Grammar School for Boys each day, and probably 300 who are travelling from Watford to Rickmansworth School who use that tube station every day. And I used to live in the area, I don't anymore, but I still feel just as fervently that it's an important station not to lose. So effectively, there are literally hundreds of people walking to and from that station, and it is the nearest station that serves the vast majority of the Canterbury area and also significant parts of West Watford, the northern parts of West Watford. It's much better for them to get to the existing Watford Met station than to either the proposed Cassia Bridge station, which is down at the Two Bridges roundabout near where the new Morrison's is, or to the proposed new Vicarage Road station, which is going to be, well, it is in Vicarage Road, but it's in that little sort of dog end of Vicarage Road that goes over the railway bridge beyond the hospital. So
yeah.
which is really no man's land. The business about the station being uneconomic, I mean, that's what the people who are developing the scheme, which is the Croxley Rail Link Partnership, funded by Hertfordshire County Council, that's what they want you to believe. But the figures are very different. And in fact, the number of passenger movements through the station are very significant. 1.5 million entries and exits were recorded in 2011, going through, which is the last year figures were published, going through Watford Met Station, compared to 780,000 going through Croxley Station, and Croxley Station is going to remain open.
Yeah.
So I can't quite see where they're coming from in that respect.
No, I definitely. Sorry, I definitely see kind of that part of Watford, the Casbury estate being, once you've made some money, maybe if you work in the city, but you don't want to live in Watford, but you need to be on a close rail link. That part of Watford is a nice area to live in, but you still need to be able to commute. Like me, I live in Bushy, and luckily I've got Bushy Station, which is serviced by the Overground, and London Midland. But I can imagine it's very similar kind of stations, kind of the same. It's mainly commuters, it's mainly people going to school. So I generally see a lot of people coming up using the Overground to get to school. And it'd be like, I would imagine if London Overground stopped going to Bushy, it'd be quite an important thing, because a lot of people use that to get from get to Casbury Park, not Casbury Park, Carpenter's Park, get to Hatch End. So if you go to school in Watford but don't live anywhere in the bus route, you need to get the Overground. And it's similar there, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, you're absolutely right. And the proposed new station at Cassia Bridge is at least 19 minutes walk, and that's going through the most direct route. And the most direct route is going to take 500 Watford grammar school boys. So just imagine what that looks like. You know, they don't stick to the pavements, they walk in the road, and they're going to be walking along Rickmansworth Road, the main road, having to cross Rickmansworth Road and the Two Bridges roundabout to get to the new station. You know, it's just a recipe for disaster. But worse than this, you know, the whole business case behind it is it's supposed to be bringing new business into Watford. Well, Watford's pretty well served. The centre of Watford, particularly Watford High Street Station, is particularly well served by public transport, as well as lots of bus routes going there. It's of course served by the London Overground that connects with the Bakerloo line. It's very easy to get there indeed, and to Watford Junction if you're travelling from Euston. But there are parts of Watford, as you quite rightly make out, which really aren't hooked up to the system. And so the only people who are going to be using that route, if you think about it, are people coming from the sort of midpoints of the Metropolitan line, stations around, I don't know, Pinner, Northwood, that sort of area, who Watford Council believes are going to leave their cars behind and come shopping in Watford by train and spend all their money. Well, I did a bit of calculation, and those people, each of them, and I calculated how many there would need to be to make up the annualised cost of the £120 million investment, and each and every one of those is about 2,000 people are going to have to be spending £200 per week each in the Harlequin or other shops in Watford. I mean, it's not likely to happen. It's a pretty far-fetched argument.
And I wouldn't imagine big business won't see, say if a big law firm, accountancy firm saw that and thought, actually it's not going to make much difference because we've got the Euston train takes 20 minutes to go from Euston to Watford, so it's not going to cut off a massive, if somehow it saves 20 minutes getting to Euston, getting to Watford and getting into the heart of Watford, I don't think it makes much of a difference because there are so many other ways to get into Watford from London but it's not going to cut down the time either. So it's not, you can't have a time management issue saying it's not going to be quicker for people to get here.
Absolutely right, and in fact the journey time there won't be any advantage in that at all, because in effect the journey time from Watford Junction via the overground to Euston is about 55 minutes, and the journey time via the rerouted Met line will be 55 minutes as well. So there's absolutely no saving. It just goes through a different route round there. The thing that I've been quite taken aback by, and I've been kind of leading this campaign since 2011, trying to get people motivated and interested in about it, it has been the absolute bile that's come back, the backlash that there has been from people who I can only assume have got chips on their shoulders about, oh, well, it's all very well for all the people living in Canterbury, you know, them with the big houses, and they're just worried about the value of their property. I mean, it's just total rubbish. I have to be honest with you, I did used to live in the area, and the main motivator for me wasn't really about money. It wasn't anything to do with money, but you know, my daughter and other children I know go by train from that station to and from school. So I was just a local resident concerned by the fact that my daughter would have to be walking 20 minutes down a main road in the winter time, in the dark, in the wet, compared to sort of 5 minutes round the corner to a local station. And you know, she would be one of hundreds, literally hundreds, doing that. I really couldn't see the justification for it.
So just one question: where are we with the Watford Met though, Lester? Is it a done deal? Has it all been? Is it finished or?
Well, I'm afraid the answer is that near enough it is a done deal, and that the Watford Borough Council and our erstwhile MPs did very little to help support this programme. And in fact, there is actually quite an interesting link between this and the Watford Health Campus or Wealth Campus issue is that I know you're going to be talking about next, because the whole thing about the Croxley Rail link is essential to make the so-called health campus work, because without it there wouldn't be a rail connection to it. So actually I think that's really what's behind it, and it's all politically driven, motivated by Watford Council, who want to see the health campus scheme or housing estate in West Watford get off the ground. And unfortunately, the people who live around the existing Watford Met Station and those who live in the northern part of West Watford that use it, they'll be the ones who are paying the price for that.
Interesting stuff. Well, let's welcome Sarah. Hello, Sarah. You're muted at the moment. If you just you're on there now, by the sound of it. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You're quite quiet. Are you far away from the microphone, or can you up the microphone?
I don't know where where would I find the microphone?
It's a bit louder now. If you mouse over the screen, there's a settings that pops up at the top, and it might be that you can adjust the microphone settings in the settings area there.
Sorry about this.
That's all right. You're not too bad now, actually. Not too bad.
No.
Lester, I'll ask a quick question to Lester when Sarah's sorting that out.
Yeah, sure.
How can people get involved and find out more? Because I know you said it's nearly a done deal, but is it if you've kind of got a massive, like hundreds of people supporting you? How can people kind of get involved?
Yeah, sorry about that. I got to get by outside, but yeah, there is a petition which has already been signed by more than 1,200 people.
Okay.
Which if you just look for tinyurl.com/Save Watford Met, or if you just search in your browser for Save Watford Met, no gaps, you'll find the campaign material. You know, it isn't too late for people to sign up the petition, but I'm not really convinced that there's much that can be done. What we are trying to do, though, and one thing which London Travel Watch, who is responsible for advising on the decision, stipulated as part of their conditions is that there should be what's called a trial split service run between, for stations run between Watford Met and Croxley, and also between Croxley on the Ford Croxley Rail Link line for at least 2 years after the Croxley Rail Link opens. Now, Hertfordshire County Council, who are supporting the scheme, along with Watford Borough Council, are trying to argue that that split service is uneconomic and that they shouldn't have to follow the recommendations of London Travel Watch. But I think it's really important to make that split service work, because if that split service works and it's well used, then there'll be a good case for retaining the split service after the trial period. So although it seems that all is lost and the Croxley Rail Link is a done deal, there's no reason why the possibility of a trial split service couldn't work, and if it is well used, you know, that could just be the toe in the door we need.
Yeah, because I generally think that I can see the benefits of extending the Met line into Watford itself and having the extra stations, but I don't think it should be the downside of closing the station. I mean, I struggle to get home sometimes from London at night because there are no underground, and if the underground does become 24/7, which they've discussed, it would be really useful for people who go out in London but live in Watford and the surrounding areas, being able to get home at a time that is convenient to them, not a time that is convenient to when they can get their train from Euston. So I can see the benefit. It's just I don't think is closing one station and then affecting people going to school and work going to be a better thing.
Yeah, just before we finish on that, there is one other group of people who are going to be really badly affected, and that's all the people who come into Watford to use what must be the jewel in Watford's crown, which is Canterbury Park.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Met station is the way into that. You know, Watford Council really bigs up the amount of use and the attraction of Canterbury Park, and yet it's going to be at least a 19-minute walk for, you know, mums with children and pushchairs and what have you to get into the park, whereas at the minute it's, you know, 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, 'cause I did that when I went to the Canal Boat Festival in the park. We parked at Croxley because there was no parking in the park itself. Got the train up one stop to the Met line and then walked down. So it was really convenient. But it seems a shame, especially because they're trying to promote green space in Watford.
Yeah, right, I'm going to interject there because I think I'm really keen to hear Sarah and what Sarah's been doing with To Save Farm Terrace, because to be honest, I have to be clear. I've not heard the counter argument to the farm, the farm terrace. I've heard all the positive reasons why we should be doing it, and all the great stuff, and you know how it's going to serve Watford with the Met line link up and all that. It all sounds really good stuff, and yet there is a real fierce objection, and I don't know what that objection is, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in Watford that don't know. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you've got to say here.
Okay. First of all, can you hear me if I speak loudly like that? Is that better?
Yeah, we can hear you. I'm going to mute myself actually, and maybe Leslie, you can mute yourself as well, so that we give you the maximum we can.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely. I mean, the first and most important thing to say is that this has been completely unfair right from the beginning. There's been practically no consultation with us at all where there should have been, and also the council are hiding behind this idea of which, of course, anybody who looks into it realises, certainly at the moment, certainly not for the next 12 months, possibly 18 months, and probably, in my opinion, never will happen. So they're trying to use that kind of red herring will to convince people to get rid of the allotment. Now, the whole health campus itself will hold, I think at the moment it's 700 flats, and there will be 68 houses built upon what is now the allotment. And we don't understand why, because the allotments are extremely important community assets in this local area. There's lots of people that live around here with very small back gardens, and there are many people on the allotment who have been there for many, many years. Now, legally, they have to move us, and they've offered us places at South Oxford. They've also sites, plots back on the Brightwell site. But the point is, A, we don't want to go, and B, legally, we should all house within 3/4 of a mile. That's what happened. But this is a legal debate because we've got lawyers involved, and we're going to the High Courts, we're going to the Royal Courts of Justice, because unfortunately this is happening to quite a few allotments in the country. But whether they understand can fight it.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I mean, I put the date in my diary. I believe is it the 25th of July?
That's right. The Royal Courts of Justice.
Yeah, because I'm studying law, and I think it'd be quite good. I haven't been to a court and just watched the case yet, so I plan to do that and come along and watch and see, because it's a really important thing. And I agree. I don't think there's been enough of the other side mentioned, and when it is, it's very much the afterthought. I mean, reading the paper and watching the Observer, it's very much these are the positive. On the other hand, farm terrorists are standing up and fighting against this, but that's it, and back to the positive. It's very much kind of, even when I've seen Watford Council quoted and Doris Thorne quoted it, I acknowledge the concerns, but we're going to go ahead anyway, which is really kind of, you might not as well acknowledge it. You're not going to do anything about it.
No, she's not, and she's been quite blunt, let's say, the way that she's done it, because there has been no communication, open dialogue between us. We've invited her down to the allotment, she's never come. To be honest with her, I think in her head it's always been a done deal. And I think for her, the allotments don't fit in with the health campus, or shall we say, we believe is actually going to be a wealth campus or a stealth campus, because there's not going to be anything healthy on it, and certainly there won't be once she gets rid of the allotments. So I think it didn't fit into her vision of the housing estate that she wants to create there. And I think she's been quite sneaky. The council have been quite sneaky, in my opinion, the way they've done it, because they haven't talked to the local community about it. And when we do, they're completely shocked to find out there's going to be so many extra houses in this already extremely dense, extremely overpopulated area, and there's going to be very little proper infrastructure. Yes, there will be a road, but whether or not that will work, I don't know. But there's not going to be a new school, there's not going to be a new doctor's surgery, there aren't going to be anything like there's not going to be anything like that. And already we're an area that's suffering massively from this. But you know, I talk about the allotments specifically, but I think in general there needs to be a lot more awareness of what exactly this health campus is going to be. Yeah,
from bits I've read and seen, I believe Vicarage is the most overpopulated borough and ward of Watford itself. So if you're putting 750 new homes, you're talking 2,000 people by the time you get all the family in. So 2,000 people in an area which is already overcrowded is a lot of people. I know that I've got a friend who owns a shop on Vicarage Road, and it's like that road is really busy during the day. So if you put another 2,000 cars driving in and driving out, it's going to be really bad.
I honestly don't understand. I mean, of course, I think, again, it's my opinion, that it's all about money. And they don't care, basically. But I don't understand how they're getting away with it, because nobody in this area wants that. Nobody. You can't park around here anyway. There's no way you're going to be able to park in the future. And it's kind of being hidden away. And I think if it wasn't for the allotment fight, most people wouldn't know about it. I really don't believe they would know about it. But the allotments are such an important part. They are the only green lung, you know, in that area. And they haven't, Watford Borough Council haven't advertised allotments for the last 2 years, because they wanted to keep them back. They wanted them to look derelict and unloved and unused, and they wanted to put off it so they wouldn't fight it. And another thing, again, it's my opinion, I think when they first looked about it, they saw old men and old women and thought, they're not going to fight it. They thought it would be a walk in the park, and of course we've shown them the opposite completely. We have a lot of support from local people, from nationally we have a lot of support, and you know, it's worth mentioning as well, the legal case itself is having to be funded by local residents, by people who are backing us, and all we've done is sort of say to people, if you can just give us a tenner, then we can go to court. And hopefully when we win, we'll have this pot of gold, which we can then pass on to another community case, another environmental case, and they can use it to back themselves as well. So it's a very organic campaign in many senses.
It is a fascinating one, and I'd like to bring Lester in on this, because I think Lester's probably got some interesting views.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to add to what Sarah said, because this is a huge travesty of local justice, and it's very hard for local people. And I am a local person. I live in Vicarage Road. I'm round the corner. It's very difficult for us to see the positives of 700 new homes coming into the area. That's a huge, hugely dense overdevelopment, and actually many of us think that they've actually got the apart from the sheer volume of people, so that's probably about 2,000 extra people at least using the roads and public infrastructure and local facilities around there, which aren't really being improved to take account of that. But also the impact on Wigan-Hall Road by the proposed new road in from the one-way system is going to be devastating, because all the traffic that can that will be leaving the hospital via the proposed new road will be allowed to turn north onto Wigan-Hall Road. And if you're coming along Wigan-Hall Road from Eastbury Road, for example, you've got absolutely no chance of getting up there. It's just going to be complete pandemonium, logjam, and it's bad enough as it is. So apart from the fundamental issues of the deceit and the misleading, many people here think they've actually got their sums completely wrong as well on the design. If you've got any views on that, Sarah?
I've muted you, Sarah, so you're going to have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with everything that Lester said, and also I'd like to add about the floodplain as well, because directly underneath where the allotments are at the moment, there's a floodplain area. Now they're going to put defences in, but we were looking at the plans just the other day in a meeting, and to us, and I have no idea about these things, but to us, it doesn't look like it's going to be a good enough defence.
Mm-hmm.
Add that to the fact you're going to get rid of, I think it's 3 hectares of green sponge, because that's what the allotments do, they sponge all the water. It's going to add to an extra problem into it. And that's not even thinking about then, of course, the problems that building that many houses will have on the pipes, on the water supply, on everything around there. So I think, yeah, there is definitely a lot of question marks around this. And I think that we're in the first stage of the planning applications, and I noticed that on the site that they didn't publicise themselves. I think there were 97 comments objecting and only 1 that was agreeing with the plans, and that was from a Liberal Democrat councillor as well. So it's just people are very worried about this scheme and the whole effect it's going to have on the whole area. But the allotments themselves, and again, and I hate to bring it back to it, but that's what we're about.
Yeah.
Since 1896, and originally they were 3 times the size that they are now. So that's that's a large area of land. The fact that it survived 2 world wars, the fact that they've survived all these different movements, and they can't survive this to build. It seems completely mad to me. And part of it is to build a car park for Watford Football Club. There is one already below us that the council owns, and they want to build one now on the top ranks. So it really is, the cliche is there. You're paving paradise and putting up a car park. It's almost laughable. So the fact that they seem to have thought they're going to get away with it, to me, is just I honestly I'm like Lester said, the local residents don't want it. We don't want it. I think there's only the developers that do.
Yeah, it's really sad that not only do the people who are going to be actually affected by it, but if people think about it, it's going to affect people who live in Vicarage and live in South, the surrounding area, because it can make moving and travelling in Watford even harder. So if we had both, we're going to lose the people who are trying to go to school down in Rickmansworth, going through kind of West Watford, and people trying to come out of West Watford, trying to move around. There's going to be 2,000 more people travelling through Watford. It's a nightmare as it is. As we all know, trying to driving in Watford and walking around in Watford and just travelling is really hard. And I think and also the idea of an allotment, going back to what you're campaigning about, an idea of allotment is kind of teaching children to kind of grow vegetables and explaining healthy eating. I know Chris will come in a minute and kind of back me up on this. Kind of what we want to do is kind of get people eating healthy food and getting children to know that these are vegetables. You don't just turn up in Tesco's or on the market. You grow them, and if you grow your own, not only can you save money, they taste better. You can feel kind of better in that way.
Apparently, somebody told me yesterday that 3,000 people have accessed food banks in Watford. Recently. I don't know exactly when it was, but that, to any normal council would be a big sign that there's a problem, and they would be encouraging people to have allotments. They would be increasing the number of allotments, especially in urban areas. The children that we bring down, my children that go down there, they absolutely love it, and they understand where fruit comes from, where vegetables come from. They get dirty and they play in a very safe area. And we bring down a lot of their friends, and they absolutely love it down there because there are very few safe areas, I think, now for children to play in and to be able to go off and explore. And that's what you get down there. And you get, the plot next to us, they have a beehive, so the children aren't scared. My children aren't scared of bees because they understand the whole process, if you will. And they have their own little bed and they grow things. And I know it does sound idyllic, but you know what? It is. It actually is.
And if you haven't got your own garden as such, you need green. Everyone has. I thought I saw something. Maybe it was something normal. Everyone has a right to their own bit of green space, whether it's next to your house or whether it's not. And if you take it away from young people, they're not going to know how to grow a garden and how to grow vegetables. And if that won't help the situation where we're getting unhealthier as a nation, and these diseases like diabetes are getting more and more common because we're eating the wrong type of things. So taking away some people's opportunity to learn about healthy food and growing their own is going to not help at all, I don't think.
Absolutely, and I think there's another point as well to add about allotments, which I've been talking about a lot, which is integration. We live in a very lovely, multicultural, diverse town, and not all of us have the same religion, not all of us have the same beliefs, not all of us have the same political ideas. But when your neighbour is from a different country, from a different religion, from a different race, on an allotment, all you care about is the size of their potatoes and how much to grow these fantastic carrots. And it's the nod to begin with, and then after that it's a little bit of a chat. And it really does build communities, and it really does form friendships. And the group of us, the plot holders that are fighting this, we have a lovely time. Evening comes, we might crack open a bottle of wine down there and share it with our neighbours and call everybody over, and the children can play, and it's an amazing opportunity. And I think this is part of the problem that I have with it, which is why Watford Borough Council, why Mayor Dorothy didn't have the vision to not just include us, but also to use us. We're next to the hospital. We could have been part of the hospital. We could have been part of, the patients, like you were saying, coming down and exercising. It's just complete madness to me.
Yeah.
I mean, the funny, well, not the funny, but if I look at just to sort of wrap this up, if I look at the whole process, and this is the bit that I've got the problem with, is the process that's been gone through, which is that, in essence, it's like, I can imagine the whole setup saying, right, this is what we want, and how best are we going to be able to get this without causing too much fuss, and what can we sacrifice to find the money that we perhaps need to make this happen. And this bit of land's kind of not really that much used, perhaps, in compared to the amount of people that will benefit from a load more houses. We've not got enough houses in Watford. We need to smarten the area up. We need a big road, and it's going to look good on my CV if I've just got this whole thing through, and it's like being built. It's bringing new stuff to Watford. Isn't that fantastic? And I just get the feeling that that's what's happened. And that's what I think's unfair. The rest of the stuff what we've been talking about, I think's absolutely valid. But I just think it's like almost treading on people's toes because we've got another agenda. And I think that's the bit that irritates me. And I have muted you, so please unmute yourself, Sarah, to come back with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many parts of this that are extremely unfair, in my opinion. that's part of it, absolutely. And part of going back to, again, what you were saying before, part of the legal case is the human rights thing. Because to go back to this, the Secretary of State has granted the council permission to deregulate the land, and he has done this for what is called the greater good. Okay, so he believes that the health campus cannot go ahead without the use of the allotments. Mayor Dorothy has said herself that it can do, but it goes back to this greater good. Whose greater good is it? This is the point. It's quite an open statement, isn't it? Is it the greater good of the developers? Is it the greater good of the council? Or is it the greater good of poor old Vincenzo, who's had his plot for 40 years, who grows the best courgettes you could imagine? For him, it's his life now. He's retired. He goes down there every day. Is it his greater good? We are going to argue that it's the greater good of the plot holders to retain the allotments.
Yeah, you know, guys, those allotments are the healthiest part of the health campus there is.
Absolutely. No, it's so true. And so the irony again of the health campus itself as being a name, when it is, and they have admitted this, it is definitely housing, definitely a car park, I think a casino or a hotel, and possible hospital buildings. And they've even now said hospital accommodation. So again, in my opinion, it's going to be some key worker flats like the ones that are already there that will probably be bought to let by people who want to get their children into the girls' grammar school. And it's, you know, it continues. And I think at some point, and this is really important, somebody's got to stand up and say, no, actually, you're not doing this. And we're going to stand up and we're going to get a judge who will hopefully reach a decision that's unbiased, and will hopefully be in our favour, because I do feel like there has been a lot of bullying, not just of us but also of the Watford people themselves, because the way the sort of terms that they use are, well, what do you want? Do you want a better Watford, or do you want plot holders to have allotments when they could have them somewhere else? And it's not that easy, it's not that discussion.
So I know we talked about last week, I brought this up with Chris, and I talked about they had the consultation and the fact that 7% of the people in Watford have said it's a good thing. But we had said, have they phrased the question in a way, kind of, do you want something that's better for Watford? Which I think most people would agree with. But if you phrase a question, do you want a better Watford, or do you want an empty allotment, which staying like this, and look at it and show them a really tacky photo from a few years ago when no one's there? You can skew any argument to fit the criteria they wanted. They gave the answer and just got you to ask the question that suited it.
Absolutely, and in the whole of that very first consultation process about the health campus, not once was the word allotments used.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't used in we would have to sacrifice the allotments. It wasn't used in would you like to keep the allotments. And the 77%, when you look at it, it was a total of 900 people, 300 odd people who attended, 600 people who sent in the questionnaires. Now, I think in 2011, the census at Watford was 90,000.
Yeah.
So 900 people out of 90,000 people in 2011, so you're probably looking at a lot more than that. That's such a small percentage of people. And I agree with you. I think what they were saying was they would like to see certainly the redevelopment of the Brown area around, but, you know, I think that they've not been told the truth about us at all.
No. How could people help? I mean, it's all very good you telling us kind of what it's about, but I think more importantly, if someone's watching this, which I hope they are, how can they get involved?
First of all, and really importantly, we need to fund the case. So we really do need donations, and I'm not asking for a lot of money. I'm asking for a £5 or a £10. If you want to give a larger amount of money, or if you want even just the £5 or £10, if we do not win, or if we win, you can ask for it to be returned to you. Sorry, if we win, you can ask for it to be returned to you, so it doesn't stay in the golden pot, shall we say. But we do need funding because this is a private case. Again, if you look on we're on Facebook or on Twitter, it's always Safe Farm Terrace on the Wix. But you know what? The real thing you can do to help us is just start talking about it. Start the conversation with your neighbours. Say, have you heard about the allotments? What do you think about the allotments? What's this about the hospital? That really is the big thing that we need, because once people start talking about it, it becomes an open dialogue, and once people start looking into it for themselves, they'll see that we are telling the truth. We're not lying.
Yeah.
Realise what it's about, and then hopefully people off their own backs will start supporting us. We're also going to the as you said, the Royal Courts of Justice on July the 25th for the hearing. We'd like everybody to come, bring whatever it is, a watering can or, you know, carrots, or we're going to take the wheelbarrow and get the kids in it, and, you know, it's going to be a good family day out. And I think it's really important that we make it a very peaceful thing, and a very happy thing, and show the support for Watford and for the allotments. You know, I'm not from Watford, as I think you can tell from my accent, but I love it here, I really do. I think there's a really good community here, and I'd hate to see it being destroyed. And that's what I'm really fighting for, is the community thing, and the future, you know, these future children, the future people who live around here, to be able to have that as well. So let's go start talking about it. Contact me, look at Facebook, share things. You know, let's start a conversation.
Sorry,
what I was going to say is Link for Growth is all about building community. I don't know whether you know much about Link for Growth, but what we will be doing is sharing this video on a variety of different platforms, and we'll be talking about it and getting the word out there, and let's see what people do. But certainly we've got the L4G Watford space on Google+. We'll be putting this video up there. We'll be talking about it. Lester in the chat area has put the fact that actually your last opportunity to object to this is today. So get online. He's put the links on there in the chat box that Alex and I are going to start to broadcast shortly. You know, the whole thing is that if it's done in a proper consultative way, it may well be that the allotments, something happens to them. But the fact is that you have to do this with the people of Watford's permission. You can't just steamroller it through and expect people to lie down and accept it. And it's all about being fair, in my opinion. And you know, this has not been right in my view. It's like it's just been. I mean, the last thing I heard was, well, you can only go to the court so often before people just get fed up. And it's like, I don't think that's listening to the people of Watford, to be fair. And I have muted you again, Sarah, because there's a bit of feedback there. So if you come back just for one more time, and just, you know, that we will help you as best we can, because it's about fairness, and I think that's the key here.
Thank you, and absolutely, yeah, it is. You know, absolutely, and you're right. People should. There is the online form that they can all the time. They can email the council. It's just that, do me a favour, and whatever the council say, look into it yourself, because once you there is a lot of propaganda. There is a lot of spin. In my opinion, there are a lot of lies, and that's quite a strong term to use about your own council, but that's my opinion. I'm entitled to it. But I do think people should look into it and not just believe when they say new hospital. Look into that. When they say hospital buildings, look into it, because you'll find out pretty quickly that that's not true. So, but yes, absolutely, we're fighting for the people of Watford, we're fighting for the community, and we're fighting for future generations. So please support us. And thank you very much for giving me the chance to come and talk to you.
No, I think it's been fantastic, and it's a delight to meet you at last. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. I'll be following you closely as well.
Okay, take care now. To exit here, there's a little, when you mouse over the screen, there's a little red hang up icon which you can just click to disappear. So lovely having you on here, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. Okay, so Lester, what do you think about that?
You need to unmute yourself, Lester. I'll do it.
Hey?
What do you think about that, Lester?
Sorry, I think I'm muted.
No, you've muted him. You can't unmute him. So Lester, you unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry, that's my fault.
No worries. I think Sarah J makes a great point, and it's really important to recognise that allotments like farm terrace are a hugely important resource. You know, here we are in an organisation or a group of people who are about self-help. We're about helping ourselves, and here is a facility right in the heart of probably one of the most densely built up parts of Watford, where people can have their own little plot of land, and we're talking very small plots there. We're not talking about sort of huge country estate here, where they can grow a few vegetables, they can grow their own food organically, They can eat healthily. It's a healthy outdoor pursuit. It involves the children, and you've heard all members of the family and all parts of the society. You know, what could possibly be better than that? You know, have a look round Watford. Does Watford really need an extra 200 homes, or whatever it might be, of rabbit hutches actually, that would fit on the farm terrace allotments? You know, it is really a crying shame. And what's so awful about it is that the elected mayor, as she keeps reminding ourselves, that she's the elected mayor, is leading the people towards this and really duping them by suggesting that this has got anything to do with health. It really hasn't. This is just to make the numbers stack up on the development. You know, in my professional life, I'm a property development consultant, and I understand the reason why they're doing this. Is really just to make the numbers stack up, so that the developer who's sinking so much money into the construction of the new road has got enough to make some profit back. And the only way they can do that is by giving them some land on which to build some houses. And as Sarah says, you know, they're going to go for buy to let, and they're going to be rented out, and people are going to make a bit of money on them. And that's the crying shame. So is the question, the key question to ask is what the people of Watford would be getting overall, the overall package, better or worse than any alternatives that there might be not including farm terrace? And frankly, you know, if what they're getting is a big road, and as a result of that, and no allotments, none of that green lung, personally, I can't agree that the people of Watford are getting a better deal. Which is why as I said, I'm a local resident. I live couple of 100 yards from farm terrace. That's why I'm putting in my objection. I'm not a gardener by any stretch of the imagination, but I do believe in what Sarah Jane and the people of farm terrace are standing up for. I think it's really important for other people in Watford not to be duped and sort of led by the nose into this scenario.
Excellent stuff. Well, thanks, thanks, Lester. I tell you what I was saying to Alex, we'll have Lester on, because Lester knows how to pick a fight.
No, I don't want to get a bad reputation. It really is for the greater good, I believe. Yeah,
no, you can see this from both sides of the fence, but to be honest, you know when someone's fighting from their heart, and you know when someone's not telling you the complete truth, and I think, like you say, the people of Watford have well, they've got to help. They've got to make their mind up, and they've got an opportunity here to vote with their feet, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got an opportunity to vote with their feet, but as Alex said, now if they want to do something practical about farm terrace, all they can do practically today, and today is the last day, is to register an objection as part of the planning application. That closes, I think, at midnight tonight. But there's a link that I shared with you. I'm sure you can share with others. People to get onto the council's website, register their displeasure, because if nobody objects, the council will say, well, nobody objected, we're just going to run that through, and that gets treated as evidence. Nobody else was totally bothered by it. So yeah, sure, it's important to support Sarah's legal case, and it's important to challenge that, but we do actually have to follow the constitutional process that there is in place, which is planning application and objections to it. So I really think that's very important for people to do, and as Sarah says, to spread awareness of what's happening.
Well, what I'll do, Alex, if you can poke that out on Twitter, that link, what I'll do is I'll retweet that, and we can pop that also up as a comment on this video when it gets published a bit later on this evening. And we'll put that in there for people to follow and get that broadcast out there as well. So we'll do our bit further the cause, all right?
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks ever so much, Lester, for coming on. And I've no doubt this will not be the last time, because I think you're a ferret and a mine of information, and we will be calling on you again to share some of your pearls of knowledge with us. So. But thanks for sparing the time, and we have overrun today, but I think it was worth it because we had some really good, interesting discussion there. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Cheers now. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Well, Alex, we've had some interesting guests on today, and I think that's probably got to be the best show we've had, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't. It's been getting better every week. I mean, I think last week we didn't have anyone after we had Rachel and Tanya on. But with 3 people this week with 3 different things. One coming from the slight business angle with the Women's Centre and Tracy Burke. There was great. We learned quite a lot there, and I know you had learned a lot about that. Then Lester came on and talked about the Met Station, and again, it's unfortunate that that's nearer down the line, no pun intended, than the health campus. But there's still possibility for this trial phase when they can test both it going to the junction and through the Met, because I think as I said earlier, that if it goes to the Watford junction, that won't be a bad thing. But by closing, I don't know if that will benefit the town better if by closing the other one as well. So we've learned a lot there, and obviously Sarah coming on and talking really from the heart about Safe Farm Terrace and the allotments, and giving the other side of the story that most people who are listening to this and watching this don't hear. I mean, we've talked about it a lot because I've dug into it, and again, no pun intended. Yeah.
Now, just to close, I picked up a story in the week about Richard Harrington and Dorothy Thornhill going down the high street blindfolded with a guide dog, testing out the food establishments in Watford to see whether they would actually be allowed in with a guide dog. And actually there was 7, I think it was 7 places said you couldn't even come in. A few of them were a bit aghast at it, but let them in after duress, and some others were fairly okay about it.
Yeah, see if you can find it now in the paper. Here it is. Hold on. If you just talk among yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because this concept of actually what I call experiential sort of experiences, where you get there was a restaurant in London apparently where it was pitch black, and basically you went in there and it was a restaurant and you had to eat as if you were a blind person. But in terms of experience, it's like probably you'd never forget something like that.
Yeah, I just found it in the paper today. It was they had problems in 20 places. 13 of them had kind of initial concerns, and I believe 2 had an outright no policy. You're not allowed guide dogs at all in here. So there's some numbers for you. But it's been a really good show and kind of good to get other people's voice on. Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, mates. Well, look, we're gonna close it, wrap it up now. It's been an hour and 20 minutes or so. So we've done a good stint today, but I think it was worth that. We had some. It was good to get those other points out. Now we just got to spread the word, get people to have a listen, and see what they think, make their own mind up. But if you can put those links out now, I'll stop the broadcast in a second, and you can grab them links, and then and we'll get them posted. So if you are interested in that Saving Farm Terrace, then please do follow those links and make your objection known. Okay. All right, so it's goodbye from Alex and it's goodbye from me. And, we will catch you all again next week. Have a good bank holiday weekend. You too.